So your namesake is in town, and you had dinner with Dotson last night.
And his mother, Sam, yes. We're buddies from San Francisco way back in the 70s, and Sam helped me set up one of my first workshops in San Francisco.
And you were worried when she wanted to name her son Dotson.
Oh.
You said, don't do it to the kid. Don't do it to him.
Don't lay that on him. It's, it's going to be, oh yeah, he's named after that masturbation lady.
Well, how is it working for him in college?
Well, all the little girls. What? You know Betty Dodson?
You're named after Betty Dodson?
So I think it's helping him get laid. But we were talking about what it's like to be a young man in his early 20s.
Which isn't easy. It isn't easy.
Well,
we should acknowledge that.
I think back, and I mean, I was getting hand jobs in the front seat of the car.
Bob was great.
He was great. God us love him. So he says, talk to these young girls. He said they just lie there like zombies, like
doomy.
And I said, those are the doomy girls.
Also, what I would add, as someone who didn't lie there, and sometimes, had young men push me off them and say, how do you know all these things? You're afraid of being thought of as a slut. The slut stigma keeps you kind of like a dead fish.
My recommendation to all young girls is be a slut. Just embrace it.
I didn't care.
Come on, that's think of it as a compliment. In other words, you're sexually sophisticated. But he says all of them just lie there. So there's two complaints from young men. The women lie there and don't say anything, and they have no idea what they want. And the other thing is that once they have sex, or before they have sex, the women all want some kind of a commitment.
Well, because they could get pregnant. I think a lot of that is a pregnancy fear. Because if you get pregnant and you do want to choose to terminate, it's expensive. I think that if women were allowed to have sexual agency in the culture...
Say another thing besides agency.
If you could be a slut, if all girls could be sluts, like boys, we encourage them to be aggressive sexually. If we encourage little girls to be aggressive and said, oh, you got some last night, high five. Oh, you're going to get it, you got over on them. Like, if it was received the same way, women wouldn't look for a commitment. They need a commitment because otherwise they're going to be seen as a slut.
And when I remember back then, in my late teens, I didn't have, penetration sex until I was 20. But when I had my little boyfriend, it was like once we were together, they had to promise not to date or have sex or do anything with any other woman.
And that's how we raise our young girls. We want the boys to have as many sex partners as possible, and the girls can only have one. So it's a recipe for disaster. You know what I mean?
How do we get through that?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, I think it's age. I think you have to get to the point where you don't care anymore. But when you have mainstream films that talk about if you have more than 6 partners, no one will marry you.
I used to worry about that all the time.
The number.
Remember the time I sat down and I tried to write down every boy's name that I had sex with, and a couple of them I couldn't remember, and I thought...
You feel horrible. You're supposed to... So I think it's, the sexual double standard once again. And both genders, we don't give them any information about pleasure. About how sex acts, and there's so many sex acts that don't include vaginal penetration that you can do that
we never know. It's this thing, they got to stick it in,
and they can get off, and both people can get off.
So, according to the young 20-something age group, women, girls, give the guys a break. Show them what you like.
Masturbate. Figure it out.
Yeah.
Go on our site.
Talk about it. Talk about it.
Say it out loud. Be able to say, I like vaginal penetration with clitoral stimulation.
Both at the same time.
And maybe a dildo on my ass, but we'll get there.
No. That's over the top. That's over the top. Too much.
Okay, hold back on the dildo, but be able to, like you say, state your pleasure.
Yes, state your pleasure. Because he wants to please. He wants to please the girls. He really does.
I think deep down most boys do.
Yeah, they all do. They really want you. They want everyone to have a good time. So.
Sorry, Baby G is getting restless.
Hey, kid.
You want to be in the picture?
Hey, Hey, blue eyes.
So when you get older and a young woman, if you're straight, says, I like XYZ, you'll say, all right, now it's a party.
Your mom's even giving you a choice as to be straight or gay. Whoa, whoa, what a cool mom.
Bye, guys.